And we are here with another virtual Cardinals Nest. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletics representative for St. Mary's. Donny Nadeau is our sports information director. And this is another special alumni version of the Cardinals Nest because we have on 2014 alumnus Andrew Ketterer. Andrew was a member of our men's hockey team. He's a sport management major, public relations minor, marketing major in there as well, I think, Andrew. So thanks for being on the program today. And now you are director of content for USA Hockey. So we're going to get to all of that on this edition of the Cardinals Nest. But Andrew, I know I speak for Donnie and all of St. Mary's Athletics. Hey, welcome back, even if it is in a virtual presence.
No, thank you. I appreciate it, guys. I'm always happy to revisit some St. Mary's memories, specific to the hockey side, I think, more than anything. But, always happy to hop on and chat with you guys. So it's a pleasure being here.
Well, and before we talk about what you're doing now with USA Hockey, which is awesome, I want you to go back. I want you to get on that time machine and go back to your playing days at St. Mary's. Talk a little bit about the experience of playing collegiate hockey for St. Mary's.
You know, that's a great question, and to be honest, I did some thinking here before and just kind of reflecting to kind of bring some of those memories back. And I think the one thing more than anything that stood out to me, and you said the word experience, but that truly is what it was. I mean, some of my best memories, sure, like came from the hockey program and all of that, but really it's just a community of St. Mary's and the kind of brotherhood that we kind of formed amongst the team members. I mean, I'm still in touch with a lot of the guys that I played with here today, some of which even we talk daily, whether it's text or not. So, I think when I look back, that's really what I remember. And I think, from a hockey specific side, I think the experience was, getting to play the game that I loved a little bit longer than maybe I expected when I was a youth player. And I think me being at USA Hockey now, that probably rings a little more true than it did back then, when you're very in the moment and you're trying to win and help develop the program. And now I just get to reflect and go, how lucky was I as not only a player, but a person to go to St. Mary's and experience all that and meet all the people in the community that I did there.
Andrew, now, of course, Director of Content for USA Hockey. Now, that's a position that you have sort of been elevated to over the span of a few years in Colorado Springs. So maybe tell us about how that position started and then how you've been able to progress to Director of Content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when my playing days at St. Mary's ended, I knew it was time to hang them up, and there was going to be no more, high-level hockey. And I knew that I wanted to work in hockey, and I probably put in about 2 years outside of the game before I got lucky and managed to make some contacts that put me in touch with USA Hockey. And there was a social media job open, and I leapt at that opportunity and moved out to Colorado Springs. And within that, I worked up to becoming a manager of social media there. And then just about a year and a half ago was promoted to the director of content role, where now I kind of oversee the day-to-day execution of a lot of our website and social media content, as well as some of the back-end strategy and communication strategy that goes into that. But it's an unbelievable opportunity. I feel like I'm so lucky to still be working in hockey in this way, and some of the opportunities not only to meet people, but to travel and cover some of these tournaments that I've been lucky enough to go to, I think has just been an unbelievable experience, and happy to be here now.
And Andrew, as you can see, Donnie's helping you feel at home with his virtual background.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since I got back there, so I'm happy to get a glimpse, even if it's your background.
I remember those years fondly with number 15 out there on the ice, and it was a good time in St. Mary's hockey, and I certainly enjoyed watching you play and writing about you. And when you got the job at USA Hockey, personally, believe it or not, I was jealous, because that is a job that would be absolutely like a dream. Because like you say, if your background is in hockey and you get the opportunity to work for USA Hockey, that's like the pinnacle of working in hockey. And can you talk a little bit about how St. Mary's prepared you for this job? Because it was an opportunity that came at just the right time, but your background in education at St. Mary's certainly had to have a hand in it.
Yeah, I think it's another great question. And I think more than anything, I think what St. Mary's and the classes and the professors, Dean, you being one of them, was kind of giving us the opportunity to not be so, into the book study and really kind of chase and some real world examples, I guess is the best way to put it, whether that's, outlining communication plans or, doing special projects, but really the freedom to kind of explore that, I think is where I found ultimately my passion to work in content and communications. I mean, some of my time at St. Mary's, I had a little, hockey blog that was up and running, but is now long past. But being able to kind of explore those opportunities while at St. Mary's and have the freedom to be creative and really find my passion, I think that's what ultimately drove me down this career path, but also had got me in the door at USA Hockey, which was huge.
And Andrew, you had also talked earlier about sort of making contacts and networking a little bit. How were you able to do that, either as a student at St. Mary's or after your graduation, that helped open some of those doors with USA Hockey?
Yeah, I mean, really, the first hurdle for me, I think, was kind of just getting over that awkward phase of reaching out and asking for help. I mean, the St. Mary's network, specifically, in the Chicago area, and I'm from Illinois originally, and the Minnesota, Minneapolis area, which is actually where I started looking for a job. And through my contacts and networking that I did up in Minneapolis, talking to various people, various industries, that's how I got connected to USA Hockey in the long run. So I think, the biggest thing for students is just to get over that initial fear of, talking about what you want to do or even being unsure of what you want to do and using other people who are in those industries and in the St. Mary's family to say, what's your day-to-day like? What do you enjoy most about your job? What don't you enjoy about, your day-to-day? And use that information to kind of help mold what you want your career to be. And in the content realm, there's so many different, specialty type of areas, whether it's, video, podcasts, on-air production, all of that stuff. There's so many opportunities in that world. And so I think all those conversations I had early on, just after I graduated, and even while I was still going to school there, I think just helped me really find out what I wanted to do with my career.
So, Andrew, I want to follow that up by asking you one of your own questions. What do you like best about your job, and what is the biggest challenge of your job?
Yeah, well, I think that changes quite often. I think as we were talking before we got on here, but the world's changed right now, and I think from a challenge standpoint, I think it's right now it's obviously trying to execute content and keep the hockey family engaged at USA Hockey and finding new ways to do that. And while it's a challenge, I think it's been really beneficial for USA Hockey as a whole to kind of take a step back and go, okay, how do we stay in touch with people? How do we engage with our coaches, with our officials, with our youth players, with the parents, all of that? And so while it's challenging, I think it's created some growth in our department at USA Hockey for sure. As far as my favorite thing, it's tough. I think one of the things I like most about our job is obviously the national team stuff and the Olympic stuff is fun, and they're big names and it's stars, but really it's that grassroots hockey and the impact that hockey has on people, whether they're in Texas or up in Alaska. We found so many good stories, and they're constantly coming through, and I hear them, but it how they found the game, how the game impacted their life, how it changed their life, why they fell in love with hockey. And I think just reading those stories and kind of figuring out how we tell those stories just kind of has grown my passion for the game and the impact it has on everyone that's been involved in it, throughout their lives.
Any favorite any favorite story, whether it be someplace you got to travel or maybe a tournament that USA Hockey played in? Is there one special one that kind of sticks out to you?
It's good. I mean, I was lucky to go to the Olympics in Korea this past time. I think that was a trip it's a bucket list trip. The Olympics, and I was kind of dual duty covering both the men's team and the women's team. So that was an experience, to say the least, and we could probably talk for an hour on that experience alone. But I'll tell you, my favorite, two things. From a national team standpoint, I think my favorite tournament every year is the World Junior Tournament, which is the under 20 national team. I just love the hockey. I think it's free. It's not as structured or formatted, and so it makes for really exciting games and really exciting tournament. And really, it's the kids that, most of which have been drafted already, but they're not well-known stars yet. They're going to be. And so getting to meet them and kind of be around them, before they've reached that big stage is just a really cool thing to look back on. And I think the second would be, USA Hockey does a Try Hockey for Free Day, which is a national celebration. And it's for, younger kids to get out. They can come, try the game for free, basically. I think, over 400 rinks around the country host these. And just the experience of being in those rinks when families are walking in for the first time and experiencing the game and helping them and obviously, shooting video and taking photos and all that is fun. But just being around that is always a favorite of mine. And I always find myself walking away from those Saturdays going, I really enjoy what I do. So.
Andrew, you've, in some ways, you're in a position similar to Donnie. Donnie has to promote St. Mary's University athletics and both genders, and you're in that same situation. What do you and your team do to make sure that, you're trying to make everything as equal as possible?
Yeah, that's a great question. And obviously, women's hockey has grown quite a bit, and it continues to as it's more visible, as it's on TV more, and as kind of those stars like Kendall Coyne Schofield kind of develop and are seen by more of the country. I think it'll continue to grow. We're lucky we have awesome athletes that engage and that share their stories and are very active on social. And I think that balancing that is something that just kind of happens naturally for our team. I mean, sure, we're intentional about some things, but I think, from a USA Hockey standpoint, we try not to segment it into those different sectors, whether it's, adult hockey, disabled hockey, we're all hockey. And at the end of the day, everyone's a hockey player, a hockey coach, or an official. And so we just try to message everything under that same, brand of USA Hockey at the top, not necessarily, segment them out.
As we're doing this video online via Zoom, of course, the COVID-19 has affected everybody. How has it affected you and your job and USA Hockey in general?
Yeah, tremendous. I mean, it's had a tremendous impact. I mean, we USA Hockey, followed the guidelines of the healthcare professionals out there. And so, a lot of events and tournaments and whether that be grassroots here in the States or international tournaments have been canceled. So a lot of programming that we would have been running, which would have been event coverage, kind of got thrown out the window. And so we kind of had to go back to the drawing board and really think about, okay, how do we connect with the hockey family, both on social media, on the website? How do we give them content that they want right now, whether that's for pure entertainment, whether that's, exercises, parents can put their kids through at home to kind of keep developing those athletic skills. I think it's just been a shift and it's been a lot of shooting from the hip. We're trying to move quickly. And as I'm sure you guys can both relate to, there's a ton of ideas coming in of things to do to keep people engaged. And so just sifting through those and figuring out, what are the ones that our audience is really going to value and enjoy. And also, how can we create a connection that might last outside of this? Once we get past all of this, I think brands have an opportunity right now to connect with people that they might not have been able to connect with in the past. So any way that we can kind of create that relationship and bring people into that hockey family now, we think, by the time the next season starts up, hopefully in the fall, we'll be able to capitalize that and keep growing our sport.
Andrew, do you get any advice from your mom, a public relations professional?
My mom actually, she retired 2 Decembers ago.
Okay.
Has some time on her hands. So every once in a while, I do hear a creative idea come through, whether it's text message or a quick call or whatnot. I have an awesome relationship with my mom in that front, where I can always reach out and say, hey, we're thinking about this idea. It's not really coming together. What do you think? And get her thoughts. And she's always more than willing to share those. And so she helped me my whole life kind of develop down this career path. And so, I would say she's still, a little involved and likes to stay up to date on what's happening.
Yeah, good. And another question, do you stay in touch at all with, current St. Mary's men's hockey? We've got Ryan Egan now back. He was the assistant coach and now back as head coach. So how much do you pay attention to the current situation at St. Mary's?
Oh, a lot of us are still following along for sure. Like I said, I really have a base of, there's kind of a core group of guys that I played with that I'm in touch with, pretty often. And so I think when one of us sees something, they kind of share it in the group chat or whatnot. And then eventually it goes into old memories and we start telling stories. And 3 hours later, I'm sitting there still on my phone and Miranda, my wife, is going, what are you guys laughing about still? Like, it's been 3 hours. What stories could you still be telling? But I always tell her, listen, there's plenty of stories.
There's lots of stories that can be told.
Sure.
Well, Andrew,
Donnie, did you have anything else for Andrew?
I was just going to say thank you so much for taking the time out. It's greatly appreciated. It's always nice to talk to a fellow alum, and again, very proud of what you're doing out there, and keep up the good work.
Say, Andrew, two things before we leave. Number one is this is the first opportunity that anybody has had publicly to congratulate Donnie, who was just elected into the St. Mary's Hall of Fame. That announcement just came out. So anything you'd like to say to Donnie in congratulations for that really tremendous honor, obviously very deserving honor. And Donnie, I didn't want to bring that up at the start because this was about Andrew. We wanted to keep it on Andrew, but I couldn't let this opportunity pass us by without getting that in there.
No, I'm glad he didn't let that pass by, Dean. I think I would be in line with a lot of what players would say now, Donnie, just for everything you did while I was there and after the fact, and support and, helping cover us and get the word out. It's much appreciated. And now kind of being in a role somewhat similar, all the hard work and stuff that goes into it, I can just tell you, from the bottom of all of our hearts, like, thank you for everything that you've done, not just for hockey, but the athletic department as a whole. And I know sometimes it can seem like it goes unnoticed, but trust me, for us, it doesn't. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's interesting, Dean, just seeing, a lot of the posts on Facebook and Twitter, and I made the comment to my wife that what's really gratifying is getting the posts from former players back when I was coaching with Coach Olson, and you're kind of like, man, how does he even remember who I am? And this is a very humbling honor, one that I greatly appreciate, but we can go back to me being in the background now. Would that be okay? I'm all right with that.
Well, there'll be plenty of time for speeches from you, but I couldn't let that pass us by. So congratulations again. And then one more thing for you, Andrew, as sort of a thank you for allowing us your time today. How about a little advertisement or promotion for some of the social media channels that are best to find content for USA Hockey?
Yeah, I think, USAHockey.com is always a good spot for kind of various content and kind of to keep up with everything that's going on in USA Hockey, which is a lot, even now. I think for social, all of our handles are at USA Hockey. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And right now we're really trying to find ways to stay engaged. So there's some fun things going on. There's some challenges every weekend for kids and families to do at home together. And then there's just some fun hockey stuff. I know today we just asked everybody, what's your go-to, like, what's your personal goal song? If you were in the NHL and you had a goal, what song would play in the background? And so just scrolling through some of those responses is always fun. So we encourage you to check in and maybe even give us a follow.
No more.
All right. Andrew Ketterer, class of 14. Donnie?
I said no more Ket's Corner. That's dead and buried.
No, I was very opinionated on Ket's Corner. So unfortunately, once I accepted the job at USA Hockey, we kind of had to shut that one down. So
thanks again, Andrew.
All right, Andrew, thanks so much for your time, and thanks to everyone for watching.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.